All right, welcome. Thank you for joining our presentation this afternoon. We are from the mathematics department, and we'll quickly go around and introduce ourselves and then get into our topic for today. So my name is Dr. Beth Riggs. I am at the end of year 31 at Tarleton, specialty in mathematics education, work with our pre-service teachers, all of that. So pass it to.
I'm Dr. Courtney Holland. I am the new associate department head, just started in January, and an instructor of mathematics. It's like year 7 here for me, year 15 in education. Oh wait, no, sorry.
I'm Nancy Summer. I teach in the math department. I'm an instructor and I mainly teach calculus, and this has been directly applicable to my instruction.
I'm Colleen Seaman. I'm an instructor in the math department. Teach mainly the freshman level incoming, and I think this is probably year 10 for me. So
awesome. All right, on the next slide, we've got an agenda to kind of outline what you'll get to hear from us today. Our weekly departmental professional development has definitely evolved over the years, and we're going to share a little bit about that, about gathering faculty input, because we really want it to be responsive to the needs of our faculty. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Holland for our first part.
So I recently completed my doctorate, and my study was about professional development in higher education specifically. And so this stemmed from us doing this departmental level, and a lot of research shows that there is university level PD, which is what CEE provides, but not many department level PDs. So I was trying to target what needs were the faculty having that weren't being met, or were they being met, and target that and see what Tarleton's faculty felt about that. So this is just some literature surrounding that topic. So just a couple of the highlights is that obviously if faculty do not feel like they're directly benefiting from what you're offering them at PD, they're either just straight not going to attend or attend and be disengaged, which seems very obvious, but a lot of times we see faculty coming but not trying the things they're learning, and that was where the idea for this study came from. So obviously, especially in math, we have this somewhat of a segregation between math ed and education and then pure mathematics. And so there's this need of a lot of diversity in the faculty that's very hard to meet. What do they need as mathematicians? What do they need as educators? So that was kind of the merge I was trying to figure out about as I was doing this research. So another thing that research was already showing is that the faculty need to feel like they had agency or a voice in the decision of what is being talked about and topics that are being discussed. So one of the theories that helped shape the study was just looking at the theory of planned behavior, which talks about, again, this idea of, are they actually intending to implement the things that they're learning? So I just noticed we had like a book study, which you'll hear more about later, that we, spent a semester on, and then only a few people in the department actually went out and implemented it. And I was like, what is the disconnect? Why are more people not trying this thing that is backed by research and all the things? So just a few more. Again, I won't spend too long here because I only have a few. We're on a timer here somewhere. And this one was really interesting. So something you may not think about, right, is a lot of that's different from a secondary or elementary teacher is a lot of the faculty that are hired in higher education have zero experience with education courses and things throughout. They got a math degree, a physics degree, a biology degree, whatever. So they also need that ongoing support throughout, not just, hey, you're hired on, here's a 2-day, new hire training. They need ongoing support, especially if they're wanting, to improve pedagogy. So some things that the research was showing is it needs to be content focused, collaborative. And so I was just trying to basically research if our PD was hitting these targets to be able to offer this opportunity for practice and techniques. And anyway, so this is a lot of the research that guided my study. This last one here actually shows a list of specific barriers of why people maybe are not trying new things or implementing change. So the top 3, of course, were time, which you probably could have guessed, and then just challenges with the instructional methods, or feeling like if they are trying something that they were told, they're not being their own self. So I did a study These were the research questions. Basically, it was what motivates faculty, how does their identity, again, this was guided toward the math education versus mathematician type battle, and then what is their willingness and what are the battles they're facing. So I took and did a focus group study. I had a group of professors, instructors, and then graduate teaching assistants. Each were interviewed for an hour and a half discussion. And then I was, again, targeting questions surrounding that would help me answer these research questions. So in the motivation category, and this is just across all three groups, the main motivator for Tarleton faculty to want to attend and actively participate in professional development is that they wanted to meet their students where they were at, meet the challenges, and learn new things to help them. Their end of year evaluations, they wanted to look good for their report at the end that they participated in the PD. So that extrinsic motivator there. They appreciated the mentorship, a lot of which comes from Dr. Riggs here with just an experience, but in general, just collaborating and talking to each other with that social interaction piece, and collaboration was a huge one as well. They just wanted to keep learning and never be stagnant in that. So with the professional identity piece, this is the mathematician versus math educator, but it could apply to other departments as well. So they specifically felt like these two identities, for a lot of them, said they feel like it's interwoven. They don't feel like they're just a teacher or just a mathematician. They wanted to merge these things, and they felt like professional development helped with that. They did feel like they learned from multiple representations, so we try to incorporate that into our professional development model. With the active learning, we were up on the boards a lot of conversation, a lot of techniques that we know from math education that works. They needed processing time and reflection time. So those are the things that came out of basically research question 2. And then finally, the piece about what keeps them from implementing things is they need proof. So they either needed someone else that they trusted to have tried the strategy and then report back, like, hey, yes, this works, go try it. Or they needed specific training. They did not feel confident enough just after kind of hearing the research and reading the book that we looked at. They wanted tangible proof that it worked. They also were willing to try small things, but not they didn't want to revamp their whole course, but maybe we're willing to try a couple of manageable things or actionable small components that they could change. And then, of course, if it challenges their pre-existing beliefs, that's very hard. You try to go from like a direct lecture experience into a more interactive classroom. It's very hard to just mentally wrap your mind around that. So anyway, these were some of the barriers and things that they felt that they needed. So we, as far as we know, are the only department that is offering a departmental level professional development. And so we're hoping that maybe this model could help some of you in your departments know what things work and don't work. So this is how my research tied to our current model. So the things that they said they needed, it did pretty much already line up with what we were doing. I won't say I came up with anything great in my project, but this is what we do in our PD. So we come in and we have what we'll call like the learn piece of the cycle. They'll read the book on their own. They'll come in and discuss and then learn these strategies, and then they go out and apply them in their classrooms, and then come back. They reflect personally on that, and then they'll come collaborate and share back in the next professional development session. So you'll hear more about the actual structure of when and where and times and all the things of what our PD is from our next presenters. So that will be you. That would be you.
Just press that button, yes.
The down button.
The down button. Okay, you can't see that button.
It is not.
Okay, so book study began in spring of 21 when we were kind of trying to come back from COVID, and there was a book that we really thought would help us with that. And so book study is part of our professional development that we have in the math department. We have it each Friday afternoon of the spring and fall semesters during what we call T, which is teaching through engaging activities. Graduate teaching assistants attend T. It's part of their job description. Faculty are not required to attend T, but many of us do. We look at it as a time to be able to, lost my words there, sorry. Be able to collaborate and foster a community between all the levels and ranks of our department. Let's see. How do we pick a book? I'm going the wrong way. Sorry.
Okay.
How do we pick a book? So picking a book is different than when we first started. Our book study is faculty led. And so what we do, a call goes out to faculty, they suggest books. We now get a lot of book suggestions and we narrow it down, and then the faculty votes on what we want our book to be. This is the book that we're looking at, Uncommon Sense Teaching, Practical Insights in Brain Science to Help Students Learn. We want to take a moment to thank CEE and the Department of Mathematics for assisting us with the purchase of this book. Okay, so how does book study work? So generally we do a launch party. We have a launch party with our books. And this semester it started a little bit later. I think our books were on back order, so it took us a little bit to get them. And so we started a little later than we normally would like to start. And like I said, book study is facility led. So we started off this semester with an overview of the book, talking just briefly about what might be in each chapter, because we wanted to encourage the faculty to volunteer to facilitate a chapter. And if you don't want to do it by yourself, then hey, let's get together and we can both collaborate and facilitate one of them. Here are a couple of topics. So we looked at a couple of the topics that are in the book. On that first launch party, we wanted to talk about how does this apply to us? This question from the book was kind of more on a personal level, like how do we learn type of thing. And what we do in this situation is we break up into small groups and we discuss, maybe 2-3 people in a group. And then after however many minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, we discuss as a big group and share our ideas. So this was like something personal in how we learn. Another topic was thinking back on our teaching and then looking at our students' struggle. Hopefully this last question here we'll be able to answer that whenever we finish with this book. That's kind of the goal. Here are a few pictures of this was chapter 2, where we had our small breakout groups. Our book study is active. It's very collaborative. Again, faculty led. And we also have a Canvas community course that is a dev course, I guess. And we all are in that. We all put into it. We can all get from it. Any resources that we have go into here. Since we acknowledge that we are novices, I want to say novices, we know nothing about a lot of the topics. I don't know anything about neuroscience. And the topics of our book study sometimes are above what we have. We intentionally seek out experts in the field. And this semester, we had Dr. Lightman come and talk to us. And this was so fascinating. I wish we would have had more time for him to continue to talk. And let's see, I already said we started late this semester. We're going to continue this book on into the next semester, and which is kind of nice because we anticipate having new faculty in the fall, and we can include them in on this as well. And we've already scheduled to have Dr. Dash come and talk to us in the fall. All right.
Get down here.
Yeah.
All right, so as we think about the book we've chosen for this semester, and that's going to bleed over into the fall, it's all about how the active teaching, that intersection with how humans learn. Because if we're not thinking about how humans learn, we've got to address that as we teach. And so thinking back to the keynote that we heard on Tuesday with Dr. Lang, small changes can go a big way. And those are some of the things that we're already seeing coming out of this semester's book study. All right, so if you think about from research to routine practice, we want everything we do to be grounded in evidence-based practices. And we know as mathematicians, we definitely value evidence, but we are not unique in that field. We all, as educators, value evidence. And we want to make sure that our teaching decisions are grounded more in evidence than just tradition, or we've always done it that way. Well, why? Is it most effective? Are there things that we may be doing in our classrooms that are inadvertently holding our students back and we don't even realize? And that's what we hope to gain from this book study. So at the bottom, we want to examine our instructional habits through this lens of cognitive science and put both of those together. All right, so this is one of the images that has already come out of our book study. The average working memory, we're learning a lot about working memory and long-term memory. And the average working memory can hold up to 4 thoughts at the same time. I'm definitely below average. I think on some days it's like, oh my goodness. And so if we take this into account, we've got to acknowledge the fact that many of our students, we're asking them in class to take notes, listen, talk with their peers, take it all in simultaneously while they've got an earbud in and they're listening to a TikTok video. I mean, oh my goodness, then we wonder why they come to the test and they tank. It never got out of working memory because we overloaded it and they never had a chance to put it into long-term memory. So as we've gone through, since we've gotten a late start, plus we brought in our guest speakers, we've done 2 chapters so far. Chapter 3 is scheduled for tomorrow, and that will wrap up, and then we'll pick up with our other 7 chapters in the fall. But some of the big takeaways from chapter 1 that we've already gotten to experience is learning more about this link between working memory and long-term memory. And I think one of the key takeaways that we've already seen that we're trying to practice and implement in our classrooms is the idea of retrieval practice. You've got to stop and give them opportunity to apply and retrieve, because that's when that pace slows enough where they maybe have opportunity to start moving that into long-term memory. There were many actionable strategies in the book, one of which was called practicing jot recall. So right in the middle of class, it's like, all right, let's just stop. Let's jot down, what is your understanding of what we've just done? This is not, don't write down my understanding, because me summarizing it for you is not going to help you one bit. I want to know what your understanding is. They described jot notes, jot sketches, but basically, let's put it together, see what we know. It reminded me of, in a former book study that Ms. Summer will talk about earlier, there was an author who talked about notes to my future forgetful self. And so we've kind of been able to incorporate this. We've got to encapsulate that. All right, so when we went into chapter 2, this one was the one you saw the pictures of. Brentley Bindewald led us in that series. And this was where we were really starting to learn more about how to strengthen your working memory, because that's what is happening during the classroom. And building your long-term memory can then improve your working memory. One of the really key strategies, I think, that stuck out in that chapter was the difference in how people process. We had an analogy where they tied it to the brain science between the race car learners and the hikers. And we all classified ourselves. It's like, are you a race car? Like, as soon as the question's out, we've all seen them in our classes, but who are we as learners? Because that may affect how we teach. But then how can we help our students with that? The race car, they process very quickly, but sometimes that shuts the other people in the classroom down. The hikers, it's like, oh, I got to stop and think about it. I'm going to take the long way, but I may have a deeper understanding at the end. And what strategies can we do to help both groups? So I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways that at the end of each session, we try to intentionally ask each other, what are you going to try to implement this next week? What small change can you make? And one of the things that I was going to try to make, and I've already tried to do this, is to start intentionally talking to my students about how their own brains learn. So if I'm asking them to do something and I'm starting to get pushback, like it's like, oh, I can explain to them why I'm asking them to do. why I want them to get up on the board. It's like, well, we need to make sure that you're studying the right way. Let's learn more about how your own brain works so that you can help yourself more effectively as well. We had a couple of quotes from some faculty so far. So we tend to mistake exposure for learning. Just because a student has seen something doesn't mean they can do it later without support. Totally, it may be in working memory, but that test a week later or the application when they go out into their field, whatever their career path may be, that may not go into long-term memory. Working memory is incredibly limited, and if we overload it with lecture, we're actually preventing learning rather than supporting that. We've got to acknowledge that the brain works the way the brain works, and we've got to do what we can to help them. And I love this last one. I've shifted from asking, did I explain this well, to did my students actually practice retrieving and applying this? So those are some of our takeaways as we've gone through our first 2 chapters, and we're really looking forward to some of our next ones. Now I'm going to pass it off to Ms. Summer for our last part.
Okay, we've done quite a few book studies. As you can see, we've been doing this since 2021. And the one thing that has been kind of interesting to me is that when we do the book study and we actually are looking at some of these strategies, we do it in the classroom like we're students. We're experiencing it like students. So when we did thinking classrooms, there were vertical writing surfaces all down the hall, and everybody kind of migrated around and performed in the activity so that you can kind of see how engaging the strategies are. They're all research-based teaching practices. We got actual activities from interactive lecturing. I think Faculty Fellows has done this one as well, and you can see mine has lots of tabs and bookmarks. And then Kichi's teaching tips, also some strategies you can use right away. The productive math struggle, just thinking about, you always want to jump in and help your student, but that might not be the best thing for them. They kind of need to struggle a little bit and work it out on their own because they're going to remember it better. And then the inclusive instructors trying to reach all our learners and not just react to our race cars and ignore our hikers. So we've had increased faculty engagement. We've got people trying all these strategies. We're really trying to incorporate some engagement for our students in our classrooms so that they're not just being lectured to, because they have a tendency to tune out when you're just talking to them. So, and it's all faculty led. Like Colleen mentioned, we have volunteers to conduct the chapters each week, and they come up with some great lessons. So we have a great department. And then our non-book study weeks, we also we meet every Friday without fail pretty much. We've had people demonstrate different tools, LaTeX, Overleaf, H5P, Canva Edpuzzle, some of the things that they're using in their classroom that they're seeing good engagement with, they come in and demonstrate. The same thing for just faculty tools and support. Like if somebody's new and they haven't ever used Faculty Insights, that we can have a training or something that kind of gets everybody involved in getting that done in time. So, and things on active learning strategies that people are using, like the Kagan method of grouping and gamifying your assessment. And then just different targeted strategies for teaching complex things like division of polynomials, for example. So we really have a balanced approach in our department. We try to, have technology, pedagogy, and even a faculty wellness day, just to try to kind of make sure everybody is feeling supported and engaged and feels like they've got some help to teach their content. I don't know if I have another slide. I don't think so. Oh, questions. Anybody have any questions for us? I brought some of the books if you want to look through any of them, so that you can kind of decide if you want to do something similar in your department.
One thing I did want to add is sometimes there's maybe a delay in when they hear and when they actually implement. So for example, if they hear something, it's like, oh, I want to try it, but I'm just too afraid. It might be a semester or two before they get the courage to try that. But knowing that there's other people in the department that have already paved the way, it's like, oh yeah, I've already been doing this in my classroom. Come, come sit in my class and see how it goes. And, everybody's really open to that, to support and just collaborate and kind of mentor each other as we try new things, because it's kind of scary to try new things at times. But it makes it good for the students. And that's the bottom line, is we have to do what's best for our students. All right, what questions do we have?
I just have a comment. I think it's really great that y'all developed that culture of collaboration and sharing and mentoring and saying, hey, I tried it. If I can do it, you can do it. Come watch me and I'll do it. I mean, that really has got to be very helpful too. I know you guys have a lot of faculty in your department. So I'm just so excited to hear you go.
People have volunteered. I know Dustin, he was one of the facilitators for chapter 1. And, we've all of us have taken turns leading chapters in so far in this one. Dustin led chapter 1, and then Brentley Bendewald led chapter 2. Tomorrow we have Miss Allman and Miss Irwin. They're going to do chapter 3 for us. And it's just been exciting whenever people dive in and put their spin on a chapter and help us experience it.
It's good to have our students have that culture in the classroom where they can work together and not be afraid to be vulnerable and, to try new things. So that's great.
I think part of it is not just about the PD, it's about like the group of people coming together once a week. I think it really helps out that we just get to hang out with our peers for an hour and talk about things that are happening in the classrooms. I don't know that other departments probably don't have that.
That's amazing. Good job.
Thank you.